Hello sir, this is Vaibhav Sharma and I would like to start this presentation on behalf of my team. So our topic is providing SaaS using Docker containers over the cloud. So, uh, la- so in this presentation, we will take a look at the problem statement first and then the introduction to the topic. We would then discuss virtualization versus containerization. Further, we will take a look at using Firefox as a service and how to make that required image of that Firefox. Then some applications of this topic. After that, we would conclude this presentation and discuss the references along with a small demo of our work. And so on this available link, you can see the paper on which our presentation is based. So first things first, what is the problem that we intend to solve in this presentation or the paper? So when discussing among ourselves after the software as a service class, we clearly got interested in the way of how software companies like Google, Microsoft, Facebook, or other big companies can provide SaaS on such a big level effectively. How they would do it so that two consumers' work was completely isolated and yeah, and one had no effect on the working of another. So our problem statement was clear that how SaaS can be provided to the consumers effectively with proper isolation and consistency. So in the further presentation, we present a solution to provide software as a service using Docker containers, which are very easy to handle and manage, and also has very less overhead on the service provider, and can also provide with isolation and consistent delivery of the software. We would be using SSH using X11 forwarding to deliver the software to the businesses to be able to use the software remotely on their systems without actually installing it. So it is also easy to install and roll out updates, if any, to the consumers using Docker containers. And in this report, we would be using Firefox software to display this solution. So let's move on to the introduction. So what is software as a service, or SaaS for short? Right? So SaaS is a cloud-based method of providing software to users. SaaS users subscribe to an application rather than purchasing it once and installing it. In a normal SaaS service given to individuals, the user can log in and use a SaaS application from any compatible device over the internet. The actual application runs on the cloud servers that the users know nothing about. So the application's various instances are provided to various customers so that the isolation is provided to them, and the SaaS provider updates the code and patches the applications on an ongoing basis, and all the instances of that application gets modified accordingly. So now for the further discussion, Gaurav Goyal will take over.
Hello, sir. Myself, Gaurav Goyal. Slide. Okay. So in our case, sir, we are proposing the solution to those clients who have Linux installed and have GUI on their system and want to access the application provided by the service provider. Based on our discussion and research, there are two ways to provide SaaS in such a way, namely virtualization and containerization. Also, a third possible way was to use an AWS account and do the same thing, but it was a costly measure for the research purposes. Next slide. So the question that is in front of us now is that we compare virtualization with containerization. Why do we use one above another? So virtualization is the process of running a virtual instance of a computer system in a layer abstracted from the actual hardware. Most commonly, it refers to running multiple operating systems on a computer system simultaneously. With virtualization, we could provide different virtual machines equipped with the software packed along with OS to different clients and run them on our servers. But it was not that efficient to be able to pack the whole OS and the software services for client. But a more efficient way was to use containers. A container is actually just an isolated process that shares the same Linux kernel as the host operating system, as well as the libraries and other files needed for the execution of the program running inside of the container, often with a network interface such that the container can be exposed to the world in the same way as a virtual machine. Next slide. So, as containers are helpful in reducing the overload on the service provider by the utilizing and minimizing the resources used according to the needs of the client. We aim to provide software as a service mechanism using easily manageable Docker containers so that different isolated versions of the same software can be accessed by the user without even installing the software on their machine. Now for further discussion, Nishit Gupta will take over.
Hello sir, myself is Nishit Gupta. So how can we provide Firefox as a service? All we need is to make a container instance and make it ready to use by the client. That is to do the necessary configuration and install the Firefox software and the dependencies necessary to run it. Make an image of the Docker instance so that we can use the image to host many instances of the same kind. We can update only the image if we want to roll out updates to the customer and make the Docker instances using the updated image. Now to provide instances to different clients, we just need to make different Docker instances for the different clients from the above image. Next slide. How can we make the required image? So what first we need to do is to install Docker software to host the system and run a Docker instance using this command. Here the corresponding software and the dependencies required to install it are linked to the Docker instances from the base instance. Also the /tmp/x11 bar unix / is a directory with one entry XO and a Unix domain socket. Next slide. This leads to you an interactive Docker terminal with the given folder attached to it. Now install the Firefox software and NetTools, which will be used later to get the IP of the different instances so that SSH can be done through them by the clients. But when we are trying to launch Firefox, it fails. Why is that so? So after doing a lot of research, we came to this conclusion that due to Docker being a command line tool, it can't directly provide GUI to the Firefox software. So what should we do? We propose a solution to use the base OS GUI linked to the command line Docker instance. So for further discussion, Mahiman Bissa will take over.
Hello sir, myself Mahiman Bissa. So how can we do it? The GUI is delivered through this environment variable display in which :0 is stored. So we exported that to the Docker container and again we try to run that. This gives this given error, and to resolve this we have to again use this given command. This time we can try to run the Firefox. Now it will run. Next slide. Now the task is to provide instances to clients using SSH. So we need to install some SSH server in the Docker. We have used Open SSH server. Using this command, we would generate key pairs and then we'll start the service by this command as shown here. Now, as the service will need to be restarted every time an instance is created, we can write it into the base HRC file, BAS HRC file of the instance to make it permanent so that every time the shell runs, it automatically gets restarted. Moreover, to make export display equals to :0 permanent, write this in BAS HRC file as well. Next slide. As SSH provides only command line facility, but Firefox is a GUI software, so we need to use X11 forwarding to provide GUI based SSH. We can do this by uncommenting the X11 forwarding yes line in the sshd_config file. Next slide. Now we can generalize up to this part in an image made using Docker commit command. When we need to provide an instance to a user, we need to launch a Docker using this command by using the above created image, get the IP of each instance and change its root password and provide it to the client. This is how SaaS for GUI based service can be provided using Dockers. Now for further discussion, Abhinav Mittal will take over.
Thank you, Maiman. Hello, sir. My name is Abhinav Mittal. So what are the applications of our topic? As cloud computing is growing as a paradigm, SaaS is growing toe to toe be it focused on businesses like G Suite, Salesforce, etc., or be it focused on individuals like softwares like Google Docs, Google Sheets, etc. There is a constant need to think on the solution to how fast and how effectively we can provide the service. Software as a service products tend to succeed thanks to the effective use case that really matter to the users. Next slide, please. Okay. To conclude this presentation, we would like to say that this paper gave us insight on how different instances of GUI applications can be provided to different clients using Docker containers. Discussion on details of algorithm for providing the GUI access to the Docker client by linking base OS GUI to the Docker client. The paper on which the presentation is based is given on this link. Next slide, please. Following are the references to our project. Now we would like to show a live demo of our work. This is a live demo to the work that we have done till now. So we have launched a Reddit OS on VirtualBox for the demo purpose. We have written these commands in the form of text file and also shared it on GitHub. So we will be using this. So at first, we have to install the Docker software using yum install docker-ce. But we have installed it already, so we will not install it again. Now we will have to restart the Docker service using this command. So we will restart it now. After it has got restarted, we have to make it permanent so that we have to never restart it again. We can do this using this command. Now to check the status, whether it is started or not, whether it is active or not, we can use this command. We can see that here it is active. Now we have to pull the CentOS image from the Docker Hub. For that, we can use this command. But as we have already pulled the image, so we will not pull it again. Now we will run a Docker instance using this command with the directories that are needed, so that we can make an image out of it later. As we can see, we have got a Docker terminal here. Now, this directory is the one which came with the original ISO with lots of softwares. We have used this only for demonstration purposes, but the number of softwares can be reduced to the software being provided and its dependencies. Here we would be using Firefox. There are already some files here, so we need to remove this and configure the yum to be able to install the softwares. Now install. Let's configure yum for now. For configuring yum, we can see that there are a number of files here. So we will be removing these by using this command. And we can see that there is no file here. Now we will be configuring this yum using this file. Now we have to write what is written in the file. To save it, press escape and then type :wq. Now this file is saved. We can configure this yum using yum repo list and wait for it to get configured. So now it is configured. Now install NetTools for the purpose of getting an IP that will be used later for the SSH purpose. As we can see, NetTools is now installed. So we will be now installing Firefox. We can see Firefox is now installed. we will try to run Firefox. But as we can see, there is an error and Firefox does not get run. It is because the Docker has no GUI. So we will be using the GUI from the base OS. So we will be using this command export display equal to :0. Now when we try to run this Firefox, it does not get run again. So we will be using this command so that it can be run. Now when we try running the Firefox, it gets run on this Docker image. We can see it here. Now we have to install OpenSSH server for providing SSH later. OpenSSH server is now installed. Now we have to generate keys using this. Keys are now generated. So we have to do X11 forwarding because Firefox is a GUI software. So we have to do the change in this file. Here, as we can see, it is already commented out. But if it was commented, then we have to uncomment it. So there is no change required in this file now. Now, what we have to do is we have to restart the service. So we can do this using this, and the service is now restarted. Now, what we have to do is to write these commands in the bashrc file so that these gets permanent. We can write these on the last line. So that user don't have to run it every time it logins. Now, what we have to do is press left control plus P plus Q to get out of the container. Now, we just have to commit this image using docker commit and the container name what you have given and the image name that you want to give. We already have this image, so we will not be committing it again. Now the image is made, so we can use this command to make several instances of the Docker from this command. We just have to change the client name for different clients. If we are using it for client 2, then we have to put client 2 here. Now, as we can see that we get the Docker container, and if we check if Firefox is launching or not, we can check it. And we can see that it gets launched. So it's a successful. Now we have to change the password to the root by using this command. Also, we have to find the IP to give it to the client. The IP is 172.17.0.3. Now exit out of this Docker container by using left control plus P plus Q. Now at client side, what we have to do is just SSH the given IP that the server gave you, 172.17.0.3. It will ask for the root password. As you can see that we have now login at this server side, client side. When we try to run Firefox, which is not installed on this computer, then it will get run, as we have seen earlier also. So as we can see, this is a success from client side. Now, if the client want to exit, he can exit after using this. Thank you very much. These were our team members. Thank you very much.